Mr. Jan Fousek from GAKU-BAT CZ.
Okay, very good. Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone, and to you in the studio, and everyone who is listening, also to Slavek. I think it was great that Slavek Němeček had a presentation ahead of me, because he defined the flexibility, as you, David, mentioned. He defined the flexibility, and now we will look a little bit more in details into the applications. And from my position, I will try to explain you how the batteries and other sources of energy storage can potentially participate in flexibility providing. As you mentioned, I represent the Association for Energy Storage. Just in a few seconds, a couple of words about our association, where, for example, Unicorn is since the real beginning a member. We are happy about that. So we support all kinds of energy storage, which means not only batteries, as sometimes it's wrongly interpreted, but also green hydrogen production, power to gas, power to heat, etc. Of course, as other associations do, we enforce the legal changes, which are in our sector more than needed, and you saw it in Blahoslav's presentation, and my presentation will show that as a proof too. We have two working groups, the technical working group, and the one important, I would say, for this conference. This is working group for flexibility aggregation. Dan Shevchik is very active there, together with Nano Energies and some other companies, and we are very happy that we can be the first association of this type of our kind, who let's say is an umbrella association for flexibility, not only for energy storage. That was just a few information to show you that we are not just the association supporting, the deployment of battery systems, but who understands the whole energy market as as one huge system with yet more and more participants to come, and we will talk about it in my presentation, or probably in the discussion afterwards. Before we can assess or forecast the future of batteries and what's the volume we have for flexibility services, let's see how does it look like in the current global market, and what are the types of use. On the first graph out of the two, on the left one, and we can see the deployment of batteries in time and in countries, which is very interesting. If you see the number of gigawatts, and for example, you see the country like Korea, of course, the south one, not the north one, which, as you can see, 5 years ago, they started deploying hundreds of megawatts, and in 2018, they deployed 1 gigawatt, which brings them to the total of 5.5 gigawatts just in batteries. We don't talk about hydrogen, about pumped hydro plants. We just talk only about the batteries. So just imagine that in Czech Republic we have probably 10 megawatts, and they have 5,500. The country, which is probably only twice as larger than Czech Republic, not more. And of course, lately China is taking over, and more Europe, as you will see on the following slide. Defining or dividing the installation type between the grid scale and the behind the meter, which means front of the meter or behind the meter, you can see it's more or less half and half. The outlook of installed capacity, globally speaking, in 2021, we expect another 10 gigawatts of batteries to be connected. It comes from the analytical reports of McKinsey or Bloomberg New Energy Finance. It's not only from our heads, which will bring the total capacity in the world probably at the end of this year to about 25 gigawatts, according to International Energy Agency. Of course, it's globally expected that the demand for batteries will increase, as McKinsey and Bloomberg New Energy Finance show. They forecast it should be 7 times, or even to 2025, and even 17 times to 2030. 2030, out of which 85% of batteries will be used for e-mobility, 13% for energy storage, and only 2% for mobile phones and others. We come more into what concerns us the most when speaking during this block and basically for a larger part of the day about flexibility, battery market in Europe. That's the topic of this slide. Where do we stand? Europe has about 5 gigawatt hours of installed capacity of batteries. As you can see, we started in 2016 at about half gigawatt or 500 megawatts, bringing the total installed capacity to about 5.5 gigawatt hours till the end of this year. Booming markets. They've been UK and Germany within recent years. They are the batteries and energy storage superpower. Speaking about balancing markets, ancillary services, and all other type of applications. Lately, as you can see, Ireland and especially Italy is taking over. The reason is simple. Of course, Italy, you probably heard that they are very active in deployment of renewables, especially solar power parks, which is great. But solar needs storage. That's simple as that. Again, this year we should reach really probably 8 gigawatt hours, because we will install 3,000. So sorry, not only to 5.3 as you can see, because it was at the end of 2019, but 8.3 gigawatt hours. That was my mistake. So 8.3 gigawatt hours should be the total European batteries market size in 2021 at the end. So where do we see the potential source of flexibility? There are two main applications: load shifting and peak shaving. Shortly, for you who is not really familiar, who is more in IT business, for example, or in guarantees of origin, and he really doesn't work fully engaged in energy. Load shifting is basically storing or shifting the produced energy surpluses when you can subsequently use them at a later time, for example, when there is higher demand by TSO or DSO, depending, of course, of the voltage level and the size of installation, or for trading, especially for flexibility and for in the future for peer-to-peer trading for energy prices. So you basically store or shift your production, which is ideal for using it to be connected with solar or wind power plants or other source of renewables, but those two are the best suitable for that. And you can use, of course, the old generators, honestly, but they are, first of all, they are not environmental friendly, and they produce some larger carbon footprint, first of all. But as a source of flexibility, still generators have to be kicked on. They have to be started, and you have to wait a couple of minutes or at least tens of seconds. While batteries, they can provide the power within the time horizon less than 1 second. Therefore, batteries are the best one. Hopefully, in a short while, also the hydrogen storage, power to gas technologies, or the already mentioned generators. So that's load shifting. And the other application where batteries are very ideal for is a peak shaving, which serves as an eliminating tool of balancing peaks in electricity consumption, which is a great tool, for example, for securing the network stability or cost reduction when you are, for example, charging EVs or in industry for cost reduction, like that you can cut your maximum payment for your reserved capacity in the grid or in distribution grid. It gives you additional cost reduction, helps you to monitor the quarter-hour maximum not to be exceeded, of course, because you can charge the battery or discharge the battery not to exceed the quarter-hour maximum. Again, the battery is great for using it, or you can, and it has been happening so far, basically, it's to temporarily reduce consumption, which is called demand-side management or demand-side response. We've heard a lot about it, but now, the companies had to decrease their production, and they were remunerated for that. Currently, they don't have to do that. If they have a battery, they just charge the battery, and this is how they provide the demand-side response. Therefore, as a flexibility source from our point of view, it's amazing. And the best one, of course, and that's important for system or integrated or independent aggregators of flexibility, a mix of the above mentioned, of course, is the best one. As I mentioned, amazing are the batteries together with EV charging stations. You will see it in some examples of applications on the 3 slides to follow. Which is great, for example, in frequently visited charging points like housing blocks, where hundreds or maybe thousands of cars will have to be soon, or let's say in the next decade, will have to be charged at the same time. So you basically charge the cars with a battery, and this is how you do the peak shaving. I will give you my presentation, so I suggest not to waste time to check the details. Here you have the scheme on how, and the graphic scheme, how the load shifting and peak shaving works. So I suggest we move forward. Here you have 3 examples of installations from our members. The first one, you see Nimble Energy. They have a moving battery, which is, from my point of view, an interesting tool, which, if I am not mistaken, has about 300 or 400 kilowatt hours. It's moving battery, which you can just load on the truck and bring it to the concert or some fair or EV cars gathering point. But the great one is that the battery, even the stationary one, together with EV charging station, can help to significantly limit the voltage fluctuation at the input, and everything is controlled by company's own battery management system and equipment. So here you can see how the EVs and batteries can work together. Another example from some of our members, just the ones which we collected, of course there are tens of more, is, for example, ABB for our another member, which is Chess. You can see the fast charging station, 3 times 50 kilowatts charging points, together with battery storage of almost 300 kilowatt hours. Everything equipped with roof solar. From my point of view, the combination of renewables, energy storage, and EVs together with a good management system, which effectively brings all those 3 great flexibility sources together, brings you a lot of benefits, of course, like off-grid operation, which in this case, as you can see, gives you the possibility to charge 7 common electric cars. If in the case of network failure, completely autonomous operation, maximize the use of energy, of renewable energy, and of course gives you the reduction for reserve power output. Another installation, for example, from Siemens, you can watch it later. I would just repeat myself. And so last 2 parts of my presentation, from now on, it will be pretty quick. You have some enablers, but you have, of course, some hurdles, some burdens you have to overcome. One of the most painful hurdles we see in Czech Republic or we face is a lack of will to change the current legislation. However, we are pretty progressive in supporting tools and subsidy programs for renewables, mostly together with energy storage. So where do we stand in the in the legal anchorage, I would say, in legalization of batteries and other forms of energy storage? Our association have been trying on to legalize energy storage since 2017. So it has been already 40 years of our effort. So when you hear in media, Minister Havlíček, who keeps repeating for 2 years, no, we don't have to speed anything up. We have to be careful and we don't have to do anything so fast. No, it took already 40 years, basically, without no successful result. Last year, we initiated, however, a law amendment for licensing energy storage in the ongoing novelization of the Energy Act, even though this current novelization is not its main purpose is not legalize any new entities in energy, but yet we don't have other chances, as you will see on the other slide. In January 2021, there was a first reading. In May, few weeks ago, there was a second reading. All amendments were presented. You probably, if we have some Nordic guests and followers, and some others from the Western Europe, you might see it unbelievable. You might see it unbelievable, but we really went through an unexpectedly heated debate where entire energy market was involved in discussion of this amendment. Basically, to make it short, all market, I would say 95% of market participants supporting, all relevant institutions supporting, including energy regulatory body, Czech TSO, all three DSO supported it. Who was against was the Ministry of Industry and Trade, or they claim that they are neutral, but neutral means no support. They've been neutral, and the traditional energy lobby, mostly the district heating one and coal lobby, they have been opposing the Energy Act, which resulted in yesterday voting in economic committee in our parliament, who discussed the amendment again. And as you can see, only 2 people voted for, and 16 again voted against, with no explanation, with no result, no previous discussion. They just voted against. This is how it works here. So now we are waiting for the third and last reading in the Chamber of Deputies on the plenary session. Of course, it will be hard without the support of Economic Committee. However, I speak personally with the Minister of Industry and Trade and with his deputy. Both claim that still the deal is possible if the political parties and political situations will be positive, so on and so forth. But I don't believe into anything anymore. What's great, and Slavek Němeček from EY already mentioned it before, what we see as a great enabler of all new market players and tools we have on the energy market, including energy storage, flexibility aggregation, prosumers, energy communities, and others. It will be in full extent in accordance with Clean Energy Package, legalized in upcoming new Energy Act. But the problem is that we can optimistically expect it in about minimum 2, probably 3 years, maybe even later, some people say. Of course, it depends on the elections, which we very hardly expect in October 2021. So that's one of the reasons why the most important changes need to be implemented earlier. For example, in the ongoing novelization of the Energy Act, exactly to enable energy storage to play some market role, I would say. Last two slides from me. The first one, when I told you that there are basically two things staying against each other. One is the lack of support to enable it legally, while all surrounding countries already enabled it, including the so-called oriented Poland and other countries. We still didn't, but where we can see some supporting, I would say, supporting tools. There are subsidy programs which we have, and I would mention especially the Modernization Fund. You probably heard about it a lot. I mean, it's being talked about it a lot. It's basically about 6 billion euros allocated just only for this decade, where program RES Plus, which are renewables, together with storage. Storage can be only installed together with renewable source, has the largest share, about 50 billion Czech crowns, which is about 2.3 billion euro or 60 billion Czech crowns. So we expect that the support for renewables together with energy storage, but also later for hydrogen, will be allowed. We are happy about that, and the program will be financed from emissions allowances. Then we have operation programs, innovation fund, which is the one for the whole Europe. It supports mostly the demonstration and very unique projects, like for innovative low carbon technologies, which combines, for example, the electrolysis for green hydrogen together with carbon capture and storage and battery, for example. So that's not probably for the massive use, but what might be a good enabler is Just Transition Fund for 3 regions negatively affected by coal phase out, and where we see what seems to be really promising is a recovery and resilience facility. Glad and God save us that we have a European Union who keeps our government, let's say, at least a little bit in the trail of new trend and energy transition, where 41% of the budget of 7 billion euro should go for green, so-called green transition. My last slide, expected increase in install capacity. I will check the time, 13:13, exactly those 2 minutes, which I have. When you take all those information I told you about the missing legislation on one side, but the business excitement and some subsidy programs, when you put everything together, you can come to some suggestion or some kind of conclusion or forecast of where do we stand in case of number of installed batteries. Honestly, the most installations, most applications will be peak shaving and low shifting ones, mostly together with renewable energy sources, where flexibility services is a supplement, as also ancillary services will be. When we think about batteries install capacities estimate, we have to first understand how many gigawatts of renewables will be installed until 2030, because as you probably heard, or as you realized already from my presentation, the only way how you can in Czech Republic install the batteries or other forms of energy storage is only together with renewables. So first you have to understand and estimate to forecast how many gigawatts of renewables we will install. When you put together EU commitments, study of Deloitte for Modern Energy Union, Modernization Fund, or for example, just decarbonization strategy, you come somewhere to the number close to 10 gigawatts probably, because only ČEZ claims that they will install 6 gigawatts till 2030. So when you put those numbers together, we are somewhere between 6 till 10 gigawatts. If we accept the ratio between batteries and PVs, the capacity compared to output as 1 to 5, let's say 20% of installed capacity of the output of, for example, solar farm, if 20% of that would be battery, we come to a result that we can expect higher hundreds of megawatts. This is what we call, our association called a realistic scenario, or 1 gigawatt slash 1.5 gigawatt hours in optimistic scenario of larger batteries, not the one on households, but the larger batteries to be used on the market, which is somewhere about 1 billion euro. And the last information is that the mass installation can be expected with the PV power plants construction from about 2023, because now the first call for modernization fund was announced two weeks ago. Therefore, we can expect annually a few megawatt hours already every year. In 2 years, it could be tens of megawatts, and in maximum 5 years, or in 2024, 2025, we can expect addition of, let's say, hundreds of megawatt hours per year, where at least a part hopefully will be available for flexibility providing. That was all from my side. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to some questions from you, Dan, or from the audience, or everyone can send me an email if you want.
Okay, thank you very much for a nice presentation, and we can skip to question because I believe there are some.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honzo, for your very excellent overview. What does it mean to deploy the battery storage into our energy portfolios? You also listed out many incentivizations programs that are currently ongoing in the Czech Republic, or will be actually active in quite soon. I think if we would have here somebody from TSO or DSO, we would hear probably that what kind of crazy ideas these incentivizations programs are, because you know that they would have or will have probably quite a lot of work to work it out then in the real life in the transmission and distribution system operators. But as we have the advantage and they are not here, let's still slide on this wave. I think it's everybody recognized recently that the battery are not just in your mobiles, but they are becoming to be quite larger storages actually available and functional. So it's becoming to be sort of the natural newcomer into I would say a family of those big brother balancing tools, let's say, for TSOs. But having said that, we still have some people around probably that would tackle the topic with the notion of economical, environmental question marks beyond. I am referring here to some carbon neutrality and carbon footprint, and what does it mean to build the battery storage. It seems to be a very green resource once it is up and running, but what is ahead of the real operation and what actually will happen to it after its lifespan. Could you elaborate on that and give a little bit of insight to our audience? What is actually the life cycle of the battery? What does it look like?
With a great pleasure, Dan. Thank you for that question. First of all, let me in 10 seconds react on your remark on Czech TSO or distribution companies and distributing companies. Couple of years ago, they were the ones opposing the changes in the legislation. Now they are the one who support our efforts and who we discuss with. You know, we couldn't have seen it 3 years ago. or even 2 years ago, and now they are on our side. Definitely, most of them against, for example, Ministry of Industry and Trade, because they basically know that when we finish the coal phase out, or as the coal phase out will be up and running, will continue, that they will need to have the sources for balancing the market. And that's why the batteries and flexibility aggregation is important. That's just a remark for what you said, that really we could have seen a great shift in opinions. Back to your question, sorry for the interruption. Yeah, it's a topic for, I would say, at least half an hour. I will try to be short. What's important to mention is that the European Union, who supports the switch to green energy, where batteries together with hydrogen and other forms of energy storage will be the key enabler of deployment of new renewables. They are aware of the fact that currently we are dependent on some raw materials from countries where it's first of all hard to watch on for example, human rights, and especially on the environmental footprint. So this is where we have to start. That Europe understands that. European Union did set up a strategy last year. They put together a European battery alliance, which committed itself that since 2023 or 2024, all batteries will have to have their ID or born list, where their producers and their resellers will have to commit that all raw materials come from sustainable sources, and that also Europe will maximize the production of raw materials on ours. The most of the life cycle should produce on in our environment, on the place of European Union, to be sure that we can really track and decrease the carbon footprint. And the last sentence is the concerns. The end of life cycle of the batteries. Basically now 95% of the batteries are recyclable, and their producers commit to do it. So there is no problem with reduction, and we can hear sometimes, or we can read in the discussion at LinkedIn and elsewhere, that what can we do with the batteries? They end up their life cycle after 10 years, and we can see them in the depots or something, in the landfills. And it's absolute lie. 95% of the batteries are recyclable, and those 5% are not the dangerous material. And it's, by the way, the plastic. And the reason is because it's cheap, and no one wants to recycle it. I hope that I answered your question, Dan.
Yes, you did. Thank you for that. It was great having you here. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Dan, thank you very much for inviting me, and looking forward to our continuous cooperation between IT and flexibility and batteries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.